Hey there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we are going to paint this scene. This was from Pleasant Park in Bingham, Maine. I shared this photo on Instagram about a week ago when me and Maisie went down there to go see Bingham Falls. And I thought that it would be fun to do as a project here because so many people requested it. So there you go. You request things and you get them. How great is that? We are going to start just by putting in a horizon line pretty much in the center of the paper. I know that's not what we typically do, but we're going to today. I'm going to draw this, maybe we'll go just a little smidgen below center just to make sure it looks nice. And we're just going to pull that almost all the way across. I'd say maybe 2/3 of the way across. And then I'm going to bring a little bit of just a kind of a little rocky jut out there. Actually, probably come a little bit further with that. I'm going to have a tree on there. I'm just going to sketch in the trunk. I'm not going to get too crazy about it. Then over here, I'll actually zoom in a little bit. I think it's a log there. It's a log on the side of the water, but I prefer rocks. So I think what I'm going to do is just put some rocks in there, and then we'll have a big tree that kind of comes off the edge like that for a little scale. And that's all I really want to put in here. I just want to get something. I guess I could put our little land in the background there too, just to give us a little something to start off with. Now I'm going to use a large flat brush and water, and I am going to, oh, you know what? I'm going to give my paints a quick spray before I get too carried away, because these are granulating colors, so I want to make sure that those have a little chance to activate. The regular roses I'm not going to, because they have no problem whatsoever activating. I'm using brushes from my signature line with Craft Demo, and I don't think they have too many sets left, so if you were curious about them, then you might want to grab them. This is a 1-inch flat, what we got here, and I'm working on Moody watercolor paper that's 100% cotton. It's a great value, and I have a coupon code I'll share in the video description. It's a little bit cheaper on their website, but you can find it on Amazon as well, and the coupon code is for Amazon, not their website, so just to kind of give you an idea there. All right, I'm going to use a combination of some of the granulating colors and some of the regular colors. I'm going to start off with, I'm going to take some ultramarine blue from I have the modern set and the basic set of 12, and there were 7 duplications between those two sets. So I just took the ones that were duplicate and I just didn't unwrap them, and I put them all together in one tin. And if you would like more information on the traditional Rosa watercolors, you can find a review on my YouTube channel and blog. And then I'll be using the granulating set here a bit, and then I will have a review for that coming up very, very soon on my YouTube channel, maybe in a week or two. So I'm putting in kind of little patches of sky that's poking through, and this is a little more blue than my reference photo, but that's all right. So now what I want to do is get some grays for the clouds. I'm going to use this color here. It's called Cobalt Gray, so it's got a beautiful texture and granulation to it. It almost reminds me of Supervision's Rose Ash, but it's a little less. Ooh, I guess I didn't need to pre-activate that. Look how pigmented that is. Well, I'm just gonna put it in, and then I can lift and tone it down if I need to. I'm just doing little marks for little clouds near the tree line. But I want it to be pretty wet because I want to really push that granulation, and you need wet paper to get the granulating effect. And you need to kind of leave it be. I love how the colors are kind of splitting out there. Ooh, it's very moody. I'll add a little bit more water in where I want more clouds. But it is quite, it was actually quite a cloudy day. And then when I want to lift off clouds, what I like to do is use a paper towel, because I find that a paper towel just does a better job. And when I have paper towels that aren't quite dirty, what I do is I have this this can, and I stick them in here. So they're dry, they're not completely dirty yet. That way I can really, you know, not waste them, especially these Viva paper towels. They are so good for art purposes. I'm just going to lift out some puffy highlights, but not too much because I really want that moody, earthy quality there. And then I'm going to leave it be. And that's a thing that you want to remember when you're doing skies, is not to fuss with it and just let it be. Now in the water, I am going to try to do a bit of a reverse, although I will be putting in the reflection of the mountain well, it's kind of either hills in the distance, it might be a mountain. There are mountains up there. You can see Sugarloaf Mountain from the waterfall, but I don't think that's Sugarloaf Mountain. Anyway, I'm going to get this reflection. I'm going to get some of the sky colors. I'm going to try to get all of that in one go here in the bottom. So, and you can go to my Instagram page to see the reference photo. If you want, maybe I'll put it on screen. We'll see what kind of room I have when I'm editing. Sometimes because it's like, I have to cover something up often, but maybe I can put it right here, kind of small, so it's just covering up my brushes. But I don't like to cover up anything that might be helpful for you to see when we're painting. So I'm going to get this painted in, and I'm going to figure out what colors I'm going to use for the mountain, and also what colors I'm going to use for the trees that are going to be up here. Boy, it's going to be hard to cover any of that sky. I'm loving what is happening there in that granulation. It's so pretty. I think I'm going to go with a little bit of, it's kind of like a sap green or hooker's green color. Ooh, pretty. Now, Rosa paints, they are made in the Ukraine. I'm going to go with the brush that's a little bit less absorbent. I think I'll use my cat's tongue. It's less absorbent because there's fewer hairs in it. These are the same filaments, but it's fewer hairs in this. The brushes in my set are bigger brushes. I wanted to get stuff that probably people didn't already have in their stash. That's why I went with these larger size, and I went with a faux squirrel because it's very absorbent, and you pay quite a bit more for this brush if you just bought it on its own from another company. I wanted to get as much value as I could in the set. The set's $60. It's not super cheap, but I feel like you're getting a good value for the sizes of brushes that we put in there. But anyway, I'm going to get in here with the green, and actually I'm seeing in my photo, the green goes all the way over here. Could go even a little bit darker, so I think I'll mix in a little bit of that ultramarine blue in with that green. Get a little of that in there too. I love this paper. It's such an awesome quality for the price that you pay. Okay, now I am going to, maybe a little darker into there. Ooh. Now I'm going to go in with some of the bluer colors that we used in the sky. I'm going to blot the excess off my brush. And I like to work quickly enough that that my paper doesn't dry on me while I'm doing this. And I want plenty of light to show through here. I want to catch some of those little patches of light. Now I'm going to go in with some of that gray cloud color, but I'm going to mix it in with the blue. I'm not necessarily looking for quite as much texture as I have in the sky and the water, because I want the water to be a little bit more silky. But I mean, I do love that granulating texture. Try to go right off the edge. This is a block, so I want to make full use of the fact that I can paint right out to the edge, and that just makes it easier when somebody goes to frame it. They have a little bit more. They don't have to worry about a white border getting in their way. Although I do like a white border when I peel off thing. I think that shoreline should actually come over more. But that's all right. I will kind of draw it in with my green here. So let's see. And then I am going to just kind of throw in that tree. Maybe I'll do that with a little bit more like an olive and sap green mix. It might be called hooker's green. Don't quote me on that because I kind of go by, I'll call a color more what it's like known, it's common, a more common Western name. Sometimes different companies will have different names for things, so. I just want to get those reflections down. Then let's mix up some more of the sap and or hooker's green, depending on what that actually happens to be, and fill in this area here. Oh, I need a little bit more water on my brush because see how it's all breaking? The line's breaking. That's not what I want. Now I don't know how far I want my trees to come over, so I'm going to keep it a little bit wiggly. Now it is pretty dark in here. I'm tempted to use this really dark, what's it called? Carbon black. This might granulate a little too much, but I do want that texture. I want to try out these colors and really give them a go. And generally with your granulating palettes, you're not going to do a whole painting with the granulating colors because what makes it special is seeing that, I'm just putting some shadows in these rocks back here. It's seeing the contrast of the granulating colors with other things that are happening and going on. Just sketching in some rocks. Not a big thing. I feel like I need more green in here. I'm just going to go with the green on its own, the sap green. It might be called just green or hooker's green dark. I'm just trying to remember what it's called in Rosa. Now, I don't want to really work into this too much because if I get too overboard, then I'm going to end up with puddles, blossoms, that sort of thing. And that's not what I want in the water. I think also while I'm at it, I'm going to take some of this color here, this golden brown, and put some of that in my rocks. And this will be my wet layer. A little more water to that, really force that granulation to happen. All right, so now what I want to do is let this dry naturally, and then when I come back, we can go in and add the rest of the stuff. Something I want to let you know when you're kind of using granulating watercolors, I always say let it dry naturally because then you'll get that beautiful color separation happening. But when it gets to the point where it's kind of cool to the touch, but it's not really wet, it's not shiny, and you've already developed the granulation and you're happy with the texture, so you can see it's still wet. I'm getting paint on my hands. What you can do at this point is dry it with a heat tool because, you know, your granulation will be locked at that point, and then you can dry it enough so you can go in and paint some other areas. It's a very damp week here in Maine, so I don't want to wait all day to finish this painting, basically. So that's what I'm going to do right now, just basically get it dry enough, especially where I want to paint again, and so it flattens out again. So I just wanted to share that with you. You don't have to let it dry naturally till it's bone dry. You just want to make sure that you're happy with the level of granulation. You want to make sure the shine is gone. Then you can go ahead and finish up with your heat tool if you want to. So what I want to do now is get to this bit of foliage back here. And I want to have some texture to it, so I'm going to try mixing the green that we've been using plus this jade green from the Rosa new granulating colors. It's not a set, I don't think, so I don't want to call it a set. But I want to mix that in there with that nice bright green. Almost looks like chrome oxide, as it is right now. I don't want to pre-wet the paper. I don't want it too soggy. I just want to, and I'm just going to soak up a bunch of my brush and see if I can just kind of throw it in there and let it do its thing. A lot of times I'll do the background. I'll do any sort of faraway mountains when I am doing a, you know what, I'm just going to pull that whole area down just so I don't have a hard line. I'll do any faraway mountains at the same time that I do the sky, but I didn't want to have a bunch of like blur. I wouldn't mind a little bit of blurring, but I really didn't need a lot of blurring, and this is just on the other side of the lake. It's not that far away, so you don't have that much of a hazy effect. You can even see a little bit of texture on top of the treetops here. I think I'll grab some of that olive green just to do that texture. And the color on top of the trees where the getting more light. I hope I get some good texture in here. I think I have. It looks like some texture is developing. And I'm going to just clean the brush. I don't want to have too much additional water, but I do want to get some of those darker shadows with that carbon black, I think it's called. I'm hoping I don't have too much pigment and not enough water because I do want to see that texture. I don't want to drop a bunch of water in here because then I'll get a really hard edge. I don't want my edges to be too hard. Alright, so we're going to let that dry, but I can work on some other things while that's drying. I'm going to go in and do, I feel like that should maybe be a little higher there. I'm going to go in and pull up this tree trunk. How high do I want that to go? I think that's about, yeah, I think that's about right. And then I've got this other skinnier one here. Use some of that golden brown in the tree trunk. This might be a mistake because I'm going to need some of that to go below the, because it's going over. I probably shouldn't have done this. Yeah, because it's just bleeding into that background. Ah! I should have stopped right there and just painted it in later. So I'm just going to try wiping it out and adding some green. Tragedy averted, friends. I've averted the tragedy. So I'm just going to brush straight up and down. I hope it doesn't look like it's going to poke you in the eye. I know that can be a little tough to watch. Ah, got the reflection of my fancy lights, my fancy shop lights. What have I done? What have I done? Would you like to go on a photo journey of my... Where did my photo go? Right there. So I'll kind of do my brush straight up and down. I haven't decided how I'm going to put the photo on the screen. This will keep me honest though. If I see I've got my photo to look at, it'll keep me from making just my generic trees. Do you ever do that? Like you've got a reference photo, like, but you just like make up these same generic trees every time you paint trees. It's like, that's not the tree that was there. Why do I always make these trees? I'm not Dr. Seuss. Why am I always making the same trees? I like to alternate my colors as I go too, just to kind of bring a little spice There's some spicy trees. Some ooh la la spicy trees. I like this tree. This is kind of a, I know it's not exactly the tree that we're painting, but at least it's not as generic as some of my trees get. Oh, I like that tree. That tree's sweet. Alright, this guy over here. Go back in with that olive. I really like the Rosa paints. I think if you're looking for artist quality on a budget, you really can't go wrong. Are they my favorite? No, they're not my favorite paints. But they're good. Are they about the best you can get for the price? I would say yeah. I think they're probably one of the best values out there. Quality for value for money. Let me throw a little bit of that granulating green color in there. I don't know if I have enough space for it to granulate, but oh, this tree's getting very full. Maybe a little too full. I feel like I lost my branch. That's alright, I can put it in after. I'll have to do some branch work there anyway. And then, let's see, we've got a tree coming up here, minding its own business, just saying, hey world, I'm a tree. Do my tree thing. Do my tree thing. Got a little branch going on, nothing, no big whoop. Just do my thing. This is going to be an easy, is that the right word? This is going to be a low stress. It's a low stress type of situation. So I like this green and I like the granulating properties, and I'm going to add a little bit of this. Oh, look at what we're getting there. Isn't that nice? Love that. So we've got some more granulating color. I don't know if I'll have enough, if it'll be enough water. Switched brushes. So one of my little tricks, if I feel like my trees are getting a little too generic, one thing I'll do is I'll just switch brushes, because that will automatically mix things up a bit. I've kind of crowded my trees here, but that's okay. I didn't quite give myself as much space as I probably should have. Oh, what do we got here? Got a little stray mark. Oh, that's alright. We're going to leave it. We're not going to try to turn that into a branch. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, let's make that work. Other times it's like, I think that we're better off just to let it be. Maybe somebody will think it's a bird. Well, I have this darker color. So bring some color down here. I feel like it needs to be wetter so I get the granulation here. Get that nice little shadow I'm seeing. I want almost calligraphy type brush strokes, just kind of loose and wild. Loose and wild. And okay, I'm going to try to work that in there because that's bugging me. And let it get a little fuller and lusher as it comes down. And take some of that granulating green. I do feel like I'm making quite a big dip, quite a big dent in the pans already. I think that is kind of typical of granulating colors, but it does seem to be even a little bit more so. I'm going to do a little bit of lemon yellow or Hunt's Yellow Light, whatever my color I have in here is. It might even be a cadmium yellow, cadmium lemon. In that case, it's probably going to be kind of opaque, so I'll have to be kind of careful with it. There's lots of different yellows. in the world in watercolor, and a lot of them tend to be a bit on the opaque side because they're kind of, I find that a lot of warmer colors are on the opaque side, but there are some really nice translucent yellow, really transparent yellows like a cerulean, but that yellow can be a little bit, it can change kind of brown a bit. So that's kind of a bummer. There's green gold, which is kind of like the olive gold we have going here, but that's quite translucent. I don't know. I guess that's pretty translucent. And if you really want some texture, you could throw some salt in while this is really wet. Of course, if there's a dry color in the background, it might not give you as lovely as a result, because it would, you know, it would just kind of lift it to that color you have in the background. Alright, I think I'm going to let this dry, and then, yeah, we're almost done. We'll let this dry, we'll come back, put some finishing details on, and call it a day. I hope you're painting along with me today. This is a really fun one, and it should be great for all levels of painters. Alright, I'm really happy with my textures that I'm getting, this texture back here. I think it's really nice. I'm really happy with it. I think I am going to stick with a cat's tongue brush. I'm going to go in with that kind of golden brown color that I had. And I actually have two, I have my reference photo up on my screen on my computer and on my phone. Huh. I want to put in kind of like lost and found branches, and that's like when I'm doing something like a bunch of foliage, I like to just put little bits here and there to show that there are branches, kind of show a little bit of a direction of where the tree is, but also I don't want too much because I don't want to, I want to let the viewer have something to do. I want to let the viewer be able to fill in with their mind a little bit. This area here is really kind of chunky looking, and I'm not totally loving that. So I'm going to take take some of that golden brown color from the granulating palette, mix it in with a little bit of my blue there, and just kind of, I might even scrub and scrape out my rocks a little bit. What I should have done, and it's all right, I mean, we learn as we go. I probably should have left some glimmers a little bit more. I should have been a little bit more deliberate with some of the glimmery bits that I left. I should have left a little slice of white back there, but I can do that with a gel pen, so it's not the end of the world, but sometimes it's nice to just kind of keep it a little bit more easy breezy. I'm going in with some of that carbon black, adding it to the bottom of the rocks. I'm going to let some of the rocks just look like reflection, I think. I'm going to take some of that carbon black, some of the blue that we have left, some of the green, and maybe even just kind of throw in a little bit of dark patchiness. Give a little bit of a push to some of the foliage back a bit. Alright, but I don't want to do too much because I'm actually really liking how the foliage looks. And then I feel like I want to do a little bit more to the water in the kind of just getting a little bit more of a sharp little reflection here and there. So I'm starting with this green mud here. And remember, mud is only mud if it's not what you want, right? If you're doing it purposefully, then it's not mud. I don't think I'll add too much back there. I think any sort of reflections I'm going to do just in the foreground. So you kind of just see that definition of the crisper ripples in the water closer to the foreground. So we're going in, and we're going on dry paper, so we shouldn't have an issue of blossoming or blooming or fuzzy edges or anything. So basically I'm just kind of going in wherever I see the shadows kind of faded, that's where I'll put the more crisp colors. Oh, I think that's starting to look a little bit more like water. I'm going to take a little ultramarine, get a little bit of that cerulean. I'm sorry, turquoise. A little bit more of a blue. I have it in a little bit of that grayer color from the granulating palette too. I don't want to do too much because I want it to keep that really light, kind of fluffy, effortless feeling. One other thing though, I'm going to take some of that lemon yellow again, maybe even grab a little bit of that olive, and just kind of hit the edges of some of this like bush here, just to kind of, see how opaque that looks? That is that, I think it's actually cadmium lemon. Oof, why can't I talk today? I think it's kind of like a cadmium lemon. It might tone down a little bit, but I just wanted to break that up a little bit from those two trees in the back. Okay, and as a last little thing I want to do is I'm going to get my T-square bat, and I am going to take a white gel pen. Let's see, what size is this? This is a Jelly Roll 08, that should be fine. Let me just hit this real quick. I don't want to smidge. I don't want to smidge. You don't want to smidge? No, I don't want to smidge it. I don't want to smudge it either. No smudging, no smidging. No smudging, no smidging. Come up with all sorts of new words here. I would dry it more than that typically, but let's just get this show on the road. Let's just finish her up. So basically it's important that I just have a really nice straight line. You know what, I feel like I'd actually rather have it on this side. That feels a little bit more natural. There we go. I should get one of those, well, you know what I say that? I say I should get one of those shorter T-squares, but if I'm doing a painting, I probably will want the longer one. Alright, I'm just going to do a little bit of a zippity-doo-dah along here. There, we got that little sliver. We got a sliver. And maybe just a little bit of a... Remember, you want dry paper if you're doing gel pen work, any sort of pen work. And then if you do want to do any sort of little glistens in the water, you can. I don't really think it needs it now that I've done it. And I think I'll just sign my name down here in the corner, but you don't have to watch that. That would probably be a little dull. You could do little highlights on the rocks anywhere you feel like you might need a little bit. You could also do that with a colored pencil. Generally trees wouldn't be shiny, but I felt like I just needed a little bit of definition there. And also I'm kind of not liking that. I think I'll turn that into a rock. Let's just take a small, well, we can do our number 8. Let's make that into a rock, shall we? Yeah, I like those little rocks. Yeah, we'll call that good. Alright, I'm going to call this done. I hope you enjoyed this painting today. You can find a reference photo on my Instagram. I'll probably put it on my blog too when I post this project. But if you're in a rush and you're like, no, I gotta paint this now, Lindsay, I'm inspired and impassioned to paint this scene from Bingham, Maine, I must do it now, then you can find the reference photo over on my Instagram. I am at Lindsay Weirich, link in the video description. And yeah, I'll link to the, well, I don't know if I can link to these yet because I haven't seen these for sale anywhere. If I can find them, I'll link to them. But these are the Rosa Gallery new colors 10 new colors they just released. These 4 are the ones I would recommend. I don't think the other ones add enough benefit to add to a palette, but I'll tell you what the colors are. Jade Green, number 766, Golden Brown, number 761, Cobalt Gray, number 768, and Carbon Black, number 770. So I think those are, if you like to paint landscapes, the rocks, I think those are really nice colors to have. But you could also mix something very similar if you have a good, stable, you know, solid set of colors, I'm pretty sure. So there you have it. Please give me a thumbs up before you go. Until next time, happy crafting. Bye.